Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of what's really going on behind those fancy corporate filings. So buckle up because RumbleOn has some interesting numbers in their latest report that I think you'll want to hear about. Scroll RumbleOn in condensed consolidated balance sheet scroll. Let's dive right into the heart of it, the financial statements. Looking at the balance sheet on June 30, 2024, we see total assets have decreased from 75.2 million to 712.3 million. This drop is mainly driven by lower inventory levels and a significant reduction in franchise rights and other intangible assets. Inventory specifically went down from 244.6 million to 274.9 million, a pretty good decrease actually. And those franchise rights and other intangible assets took a big hit, going from 100 million down to 127.8 million. This is partly because of an impairment charge we'll talk about later. On the flip side, their vehicle floor plan notes payable increased from 29.9 million to 240.2 million, which means they're borrowing more to finance their inventory. Now for the most concerning part of the balance sheet, the stockholders' equity. As of June 30, 2025, it's actually a deficit of 4.7 million. This is a big change from a positive 36.7 million at the end of 2024. This means the company owes more than it owns in terms of shareholder value. Scroll impairment of franchise rights. Scroll moving over to the statement of operations. The story gets a little clearer on why those assets dropped. We see an impairment charge of 34 million for franchise rights. This means they've decided a big chunk of their franchise value is no longer worth what they thought it was. Scroll sports vehicles revenue. Scroll tip. Let's talk about revenue. For the 3 months ended June 30, 2025, total revenue was 299.9 million, down from 336.8 million in the same period last year. The biggest driver here is power sports vehicles revenue, which dropped by about 16 million. Scroll parts, service and accessories of revenue. Scroll tip parts, service and accessories revenue also saw a dip, falling from 56.9 million to 52.4 million. Even their vehicle transportation services revenue took a nosedive from 15 million to just 1.3 million to just 1.3 million. This revenue drop naturally impacted their gross profit, which fell from 89.9 million to 83.9 million for the quarter. And the big impairment charge, along with lower revenues, pushed the company into an operating loss of 18.8 million for the quarter, compared to an operating income of 15.4 million in the prior year. Yikes! When we look at the bottom line, the net loss for the quarter was a hefty 32.2 million. That's a huge increase from a small loss of just 0.7 million in the same period last year. One thing that did improve was stock-based compensation, which decreased significantly from 1.4 million in the prior year to 0.6 million this quarter. Scroll power sports vehicles, ALS revenue. Scroll tier. Let's break down those power sports numbers a bit more. New retail vehicle revenue dropped by 21 million, and pre-owned retail vehicle revenue also saw a slight decrease. We can see this reflected in the units sold. Total retail vehicles sold decreased by nearly 900 units in the quarter. Scroll your gross profit per retail vehicle. True scroll and intra-scroll. Interestingly though, the gross profit per retail vehicle actually increased, especially for pre-owned vehicles and parts, service and accessories. So while they're selling less, they're making a bit more on each sale perhaps. Their vehicle transportation services segment is really struggling. Gross profit per vehicle transported dropped from 133 to 100. This segment seems to be in a tough spot. Looking at expenses, selling general and administrative expenses, or SG&A, decreased overall compensation and related costs were a big part of this saving, falling by about 4 million. However, professional fees increased by 1.4 million. This could be related to all the recent changes and investigations happening at the company. And of course, that 34 million impairment charge for franchise rights is a major factor here. Floor plan interest expense decreased, falling from 4.3 million to 2.6 million. That's good news. That means they're carrying less inventory cost on their books for financing. Other interest expense also decreased thanks to paying off those convertible notes and lower rates on their term loan. Now let's talk about liquidity. As of June 30, 2025, they had about 60 million in cash and restricted cash. This is down from 96.7 million at the end of 2024. Availability under their financing credit facilities also decreased. For the 6 months ended June 30, 2025, they actually had positive net cash from operations of 4 million. That sounds good, but it's a big drop from 29.2 million in the same period last year. That prior year period benefited from a large loan portfolio transaction which really boosted it. Financing activities saw a net cash outflow of 38 million, mainly due to debt repayments. Overall, their cash balance decreased by 36.9 million in the first 6 months of the year. Shifting gears to some other important disclosures, we have legal proceedings. There's an ongoing SEC investigation looking into things like related party transactions and the use of company resources by a former CEO. The company is cooperating, but the outcome is uncertain. There's also a lawsuit filed by a former CEO seeking significant damages related to his resignation. The company disagrees with his claims and intends to fight it vigorously. Some significant events happened right after the quarter ended. On August 10, 2025, they entered into Amendment Number 10 to their credit agreement. This extends their loan maturity date to September 2027 and modifies interest rates and covenants. It also involves prepaying some debt with proceeds from subordinated loans. They also secured commitment letters for subordinated loans from related parties, which will be used in part to make that prepayment on the credit agreement. So what's my take on all this? RumbleOn is clearly going through a tough period. The significant drop in revenue and the resulting operating loss, coupled with that massive impairment charge for franchise rights, paints a picture of a company struggling. The shift to a negative equity position is a serious concern and indicates financial distress, while the increase in gross profit per unit for powersports is a positive sign and suggests they might be getting more efficient on individual sales. The overall volume decline is worrying. The vehicle transportation segment is practically a ghost of its former self, and that's probably a good thing given how poorly it was performing. The company is clearly trying to manage its debt and recently restructured its credit agreement, which is a necessary step to give them more breathing room. However, the ongoing legal challenges and the SEC investigation create a cloud of uncertainty that makes it hard to predict the future. They are making efforts to cut costs, which is evident in the SDN reduction, but the core business of selling powersports vehicles is facing headwinds. This company is in a turnaround situation, and it's a very challenging one. While management is taking steps to improve the financial situation and extend their runway, the underlying business performance and future outlook remain highly uncertain given the factors discussed. What do you guys think about RumbleOn's financial health and their strategic moves like the name change to Ride Now Group Inc.? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to Corporate Decoder for more in-depth analysis of companies like this. And if you want to join the conversation and dive even deeper, check out our Discord community. The link is in the description.